I guess we can continue. I think there's going to be us and Jeff.
Thank you for setting this up for me, Joanne. I appreciate being able to participate.
I'm glad that it worked out because I'm always fearful of how.
And sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you just got to go with it. So whatever. It's working now.
So we'll start with the land acknowledgement. In the spirit of respect, truth, and reconciliation, we honor and thank the Indigenous peoples on whose tradition and unceded lands we operate. Okay, if you look at your agenda, you can delete election of chair and vice chair because I will continue to chair this, and any one of you can vice chair if I'm away because you have been here the whole time.
Awesome.
And I have no problem with any of you stepping in to this chair, okay? So consideration of the agenda as it is. Do we have a quorum for this?
Yeah, because we have such a small group.
The rest of the group.
The rest of the group is Annie and Jennifer. And that's it.
Didn't you get Tracy too?
Yeah, but Tracy resigned. She said, I just cannot do another night away from my family. I cannot. And I get that. She's got 4 kids and they're always on the go with these kids, right? But did Annie get back to you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
she's gone to Paris or somewhere.
Oh, poor Annie.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Okay, they're threatening nuclear war with Russia, so we're good with that.
yeah, well, there you go. I'm not going there. So is 3 of us a quorum?
Yeah.
4. Oh, 4. Yes, of course. All right, so, can I have a motion for the agenda, please, unless you have some changes? Thanks, Diane, and seconded by Nancy. Okay, anyone not in favor of that? Okay. New business, terms of reference and engagement strategy, see attached. Okay. Let us hear if you have any issues around that. Any of you?
Not that I can figure out.
Looked good
Joanne,
from my perspective.
You will find Joanne is attention to detail is just tickety-boo.
Well, that's very kind.
You're very good at this and you're very good at wording it. And I have told you that before. I really appreciate your work. So we are lucky that we had somebody talented to slip into Elizabeth's territory.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so comments, anybody? Jeff, that includes you online.
Yeah, I said it looked good to me. I liked it and echo the attention to detail. Appreciate that.
Yep. Okay.
There might
Anybody
be
else?
some mention about the chair and the terms of reference, in which case I'll update it if there is.
Yeah, please.
And then with the, if I may just elaborate a little
Yes.
bit on the engagement strategy, just in terms of timing and things like that. So obviously, we have this committee and I'm going to be very conscientious of your time and try to keep it to just 4 meetings for kind of higher level decisions to kind of keep us on track.
Repeat that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought you might be considering how long and how many meetings you've had to date. So there's just kind of key points throughout the process where I'll be checking in with you guys.
Okay.
And then in tandem with that, I'm going to be reaching out in the spring to some kind of key stakeholders, agencies and things like that, kind of in the background.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, kind of June, July is when we're going to present some of the topics that we think might have more discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So at a future steering committee meeting, I'm going to check in with you as to what those topics are going to be and how we want to frame the discussion. So we'll kind of talk about what sort of engagement and reach you want at a later date. But that's kind of that first push. If anybody asks, knowing that you're on the committee, that yes, we're going to have some public touch points, but they're going to be in July, August with some open houses and things like that.
Yeah, okay, that kind of speaks to Jennifer saying in her email that somebody had wanted to attend the meeting tonight and intended to attend. and felt that they could sit and listen, and I said, this is not a public meeting. So Jeff, for your information as well.
Yeah,
This
I
is-
saw the Facebook
Yeah.
posts.
Okay, so this is not a public meeting, and we will, yeah, that is the answer that you just gave, Joanne, is that there will be public outreach. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Any questions there, anybody? I like this little group.
No. I think we've been doing this for too long to have questions at this point.
Well, probably, because like I say, she knows the ins and outs, so. Okay. Carry on.
That's all I wanted to say about that one.
Okay. Anybody else? Good. Alrighty. So review of principal uses and minimum lot size by zone.
Mhm.
Let's jump into that one.
Yes. So I'll just kind of explain my general approach. I am kind of inundating you with a lot of information up front. Because you've already done a lot of work with the OCP.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's in each one of the land use designations in the OCP, there's a list of uses that you guys have vetted and wanted to see in those particular areas. So my task was essentially trying to look at the zoning bylaw and then align that with those lists. And I did that zone by zone. And as I was doing that, I saw a few things that we might be able to change and pair off and clean up as we go.
Okay.
But this kind of first discussion is, the first part is the going through the zones, and we're just talking about the uses and the minimum lot sizes, and then all of the other details about setbacks and lot coverages and all those types of details are for future discussion. So we're just kind of trying to align the zones first and foremost for use and for the lot size, which are pretty clear directives in the OCP as to what we want to see. So that's kind of the overview. And then on the first slide, and hopefully Jeff, you have a copy of the agenda
Yeah,
that you're following along with us.
I have, that's the biggest thing, and you folks are like little thumbnails, so.
Okay.
So
So
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, me too.
so you can see on the slide that shows the must use for the zone review. I kind of put it that way because the discussions of kind of what uses are to be put where has kind of already happened in the OCP, and then we're just kind of slotting things in.
Yep.
But as you can see in the table, some places, not all of them, have more zones than under one OCP designation. So like the general commercial, for example, there's 5 zones currently under that umbrella. And then we're going to kind of go through each one of those individually.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So the first one that I wanted to start with was the waterfront residential.
Mhm.
So, and then on your slides, you can just to get a sense of what areas we're talking about.
So there would be my very first question.
Mhm.
Why do we not have all of the waterfront residential?
Is a great question. So some of it is park,
But
and then
the whole area, like there's all that and this is
Yes.
waterfront residential. I know, I think the description I was given is what you are showing has, people have to have their own water system and septic. But the rest of them are all on septic, so they're halfway there. It just looks like it. If I didn't live here and I looked and went, oh, there's no waterfront property, residential in this whole sub area. Why?
yeah. So the way that the OCP split like the residential versus the waterfront residential was based on or at least partially based on whether you were on a community sewer or sorry, water
Yeah.
or not.
Which I got.
Yeah.
And I get that, but it also says, septic, and they're all on septic.
Yep. Correct.
So question stands.
So the only difference is whether you're on a water system or you're pulling out of the lake or doing whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was a little confused about it too, but then I saw that and just knowing that some of the places down off of West Lake are just pulling from the lake. So there's that distinction. And I think that then distinction, taking it a step further, fits into some of the other minimum lot size aspects. So like at first it didn't make sense to me, and there maybe is another way to describe it, but then after I kind of looked
No, I
through
find
it
it
all, it made
confusing.
sense. It is, but it isn't.
Most
after
of the
you look through it.
decisions are whether or not you're on a water system or not.
Yep.
Most of the zoning related decisions will apply to anybody living on the waterfront,
Regardless of where they get their.
regardless of where they get their water. And I would hate for someone to assume that there are different basic rules for different.
Or better and
Bet-
easier
Yeah,
rules if you're on a water system. Because really there
there's
isn't.
not.
Well, there's different lot sizes.
Yeah, there is.
And and this description is taken from the OCP for that waterfront residential designation. So,
I mean,
Yeah, I asked
So-
that question then, and nobody wants to talk about it.
okay.
It has always confused me that, they're waterfront residential.
well, yeah, they are, because even if you're pulling out of the lake, you still have to have the same setbacks from the lake, or the same setbacks from the side boundary lines, or the same height restriction.
And if you're not pulling out of the lake, same.
If you're not pulling out of the lake, same. If you're on a water system, we don't say, okay, because you're on a water system, you can do more than Joe Blow who is
Mhm.
pulling from the lake.
And every single house is on a septic,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting.
It'd be different if we had a sewer system, I think. So that you were on a sewer system or on a septic, then I can
Yeah.
see that delineation. I'm inclined to think you guys are right.
I think the big difference is the lot sizes are smaller when you're in the community water system versus.
So why does that make a difference? It's the septic
no-
that should make that difference,
Yeah.
not the water. I'm just,
Yeah, I
And
totally
Interior
agree.
Health is gonna make sure that your water and your sewer are not very close. We don't have to zone for that.
That's right, yeah. So,
Yeah, I don't
So-
know if I caught all of it, but I think the important distinction distinction between drawing from the lake or having a well and being on a community water system is the contamination, potential contamination from septic. So if you're on for your drinking water, so if you're like I draw from Sutherland Creek, or I'm part of Sutherland Creek, so our septic can't contaminate my drinking water.
But the
Yeah.
RDKB isn't gonna make that assessment. Interior Health is gonna make that
that's
assessment.
exactly right. And you
So-
have to send in those drawings.
Right. So in my mind, there's two kind of things that are on the waterfront. You're either, well, three kinds. You're either a residence, you're a business, or you're a park.
True.
Yeah, but I think unless I've forgotten, and it'll show in the slides, that the minimum lot size for waterfront residential is larger than the residential.
Correct.
And so,
Yeah, you're right, Jeff. And we did that deliberately to keep from having smaller lots on the lake.
right, so,
With
any,
the sewer. It had to do with less people and less lots along Christina Lake. We wanted to make it really difficult, so we didn't have high density. And that was at the last OCP when I sat on it.
So that would mean, everybody would have to be isn't it a 1 hectare, any new lot would have to be a 1 hectare lot on the waterfront versus a half acre, which if you include those ones that aren't currently zoned waterfront residential. So that's a significant change that wasn't contemplated or discussed at the OCP.
Yeah, I think,
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think though that Joanne is right, but she's right for a different reason.
Okay.
As I remember it, because I've sat on 2 of these, we were adamant that we did not want high density along the lake. And we felt that the only way to do that
Yeah.
was to fit in a zone along the lake that says you cannot split your property. You must be X amount big before you can split your property and create higher density along Christina Lake.
Mhm.
You remember that?
Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So really, as I see it, it doesn't have much to do with water or sewer. It has more to do with density.
Mhm.
And you don't want to send that out there. Pardon me, folks, but you don't want to send that out there to all those lakeshore owners saying, we've decided, right? So it's much healthier to say it has to do with water and sewer. And you're closer to the lake.
Yeah. And just looking at the residential, like the lots that we would be talking about.
Yeah.
That could have been a strategy because all of those are already small. And so it might not actually have a
Yeah.
significant impact,
Just think,
but it might have a big,
I understand the reason.
Yeah.
I understand the logic. I don't understand the map. There's one, when you look at it, it's waterfront. And I look at this map and go, wow, nobody lives on the water in the south end of Christina Lake. What the
Yeah.
hell?
okay, so maybe it's more of a terminology. kind of
Yes,
thing.
I think so.
Maybe a
Okay.
different color, like,
These are waterfront residential, and if you're pink, you're this type, and if you're blue, you're this type.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's anything other than, wow, why do we not have,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay,
It's, yeah,
I mean, I'm not trying to change
No.
anybody's property. I'm not trying to change anything that exists at this point.
Yeah.
Except the map is highly misleading.
okay, got it.
okay. So maybe, so throughout this process,
Prettier
Uh,
color. Sorry.
we'll get into colors later because we'll have a big version of the map. Throughout this process, there's gonna be some little tweaks
Yes.
that will need to be made to the OCP. So we'll just be kind of noting them, and that might be like changing the terminology and kind of making that adjustment, like not like a huge policy adjustment, but maybe tweaks to terminology and things like that, like or things
Clarity,
that
yeah.
for clarity,
Yeah.
things like that we can do. But you know, as it stands right now, I'm kind of working within what the OCP says, and the OCP is saying those are the waterfront residential, and then that's, you know, the 10 hectare lot size, and then what's in the residential is the 1
I have-
hectare if
I
you're.
have tried this several times.
Okay.
Today is my day. My water alert.
Can I ask what the KK and the person is on there? What are those? Other than Jeff?
I'm not sure. They might be,
I think we need to know that. If they happen to be people. Do they happen to be people?
looks like they might be people. It was like the agenda was published online and it has all
Why?
of the information. Because the steering committee, like all the meetings are meetings that people can attend and watch. They just can't participate in.
That's not what I understood. I understood this whole process was not for the public consumption until you guys came up with something to send out there.
Yeah, so all of, like, these meetings are like, they're under the same kind of rules as any of the other RDKB meetings. Like an EPC meeting is open to the public, people can attend, they just can't participate. It's under those same parameters.
So we need to know if people are online and who they are, please.
Yeah. Leave that for the minute. There's people attending.
Oh, one's already dropped out.
Right. So of the people that are online, can you please identify yourself for the record keeping of the minutes?
Hello?
If they open up their microphones, maybe. Nope, they should be able to talk.
Where does it say people? Where is it?
Well, it looks like there's a Kelly and a 1-6 something ends with a 5.
Okay, we need your names for the minutes, please, people online. Ooh, there's a message.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just see if we can open the microphone up.
This will be the last meeting we do online, period. The people are coming, they're gonna come and sit and look at.
Oh, you should be able to be there. And say something.
Okay, well, obviously, if people don't want to give you their name, there's a reason for that. So we will continue to do the work you guys have done such a good job of. So speaking to this, the difference in lot size was because it was closer to the lake. So if people didn't have proper septics and were pulling from a well or the lake, there was the feeling that it might challenge the lake a bit, right? So therein, I think that's why we colored them differently, if you will, and why we labeled them differently. Because if you were way off the lake, it wouldn't be as much of a concern. And it's a message for the health with septic. Right?
I guess I understand, but don't. I mean, I understand the lot size,
Yeah.
but
Okay. So
Yeah.
then we need to clarify the language, I guess, is what I'm hearing, right, Joanne?
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the coloring on the map.
Yeah. And I think we need to clarify that in the OCP.
Okay,
As part of the process.
Okay.
just one of those things.
yeah, it is one of those things. And we're gonna meet up with that all the way along the line, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Let us-
I had a quick
Yeah.
question that it kind of like will cover everything. So maybe if I ask it right at the start. So, any changes that are made to the zoning bylaw now, if somebody was conforming previously, they're still they're considered non-conforming, but still okay? Or, because I noticed that in some, in one particular place that, I think it was about, somebody having like in a rural residential for sawmill or something, and okay, it's not going to be allowed anymore, but existing are non-conforming. Is that the same for everything, whether it's a change in lot size or use on the lot or whatever the case might be?
Are you talking about waterfront, Jeff, or are you talking about anywhere?
Anywhere, like
Yes, there is
particularly
not-
residential, but for anything really.
Yeah, there is areas here that are non-conforming right now,
No,
that's for sure.
What I mean
Yeah.
is if we ultimately make a change and that changes the use and then somebody's becomes non-conforming,
Oh, if,
Are they grandfathered in?
if we
yeah,
change,
yeah,
Mhm.
even though we don't use the term grandfather.
Got it.
I don't,
Yeah, so there are, parameters that are established in the Local Government Act around, those situations. So essentially, if you have a use and a zoning bylaw comes in and says that's no longer a use that is allowed there, you are allowed to continue that use. But if you stop that use, and I
Okay.
believe it's for more than 6 months and you're no longer continuously using the property in that way, you
Right.
can lose your grandfathering rights.
Got it. Okay.
So, and then, yeah, so there's
just-
parameters, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be, and this is just a general comment, that somewhere there an explanation for that, because I know just from, some of the meetings I've now been involved in and on the riparian group, a lot of it's confusing to people. And if there's that kind of clarity, then they know, okay, hey, can do this, can't do that. Yeah. And I did something on
Yes.
my computer and I've lost my agenda, but I'm finding it again.
Okay. I would say if there are, when we're going through these zones and the maps, if there are things that, we are making non-conforming as a use, like something that's, I think we should be very conscious of those and making sure that that's,
Yeah.
what we want to be doing. What I tried to do was avoid creating non-conforming use scenarios,
Okay.
as long as it was aligning with the OCP. And a lot of the uses that I was removing they were extra ones that, as far as I know, weren't active uses in those areas. They are just ones that someone could have
Yeah.
used the property for,
Okay.
not necessarily something they were using the property for. So in the future, maybe they'd have, a smaller bucket of uses to choose from, but they would, be in a
Mhm.
non-conforming scenario. Because, we want to be careful not to create a lot of those unless there's a clear policy reason why we don't want to see that happening there again. And as soon as we can, let it cease to and change, but you kind of have to be conscious.
well,
of
and
those.
people have,
Intentional.
that were non-conforming have applied to add that use to that zone.
Yeah,
And then that cleans that up.
Yes.
And lots of times it's not a big enough issue for it not to be changed, right? It's just one of those things where somebody decided to do a business that only had these things
Mhm.
and they just thought it was commercial property, so they did whatever.
Mhm.
And then you just walk through that and legalize it.
Yeah.
So I don't see a lot of things at the lake that are a real issue on this. I don't know about the rest of you, but I know there is some that are non-conforming.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's a couple things that I'll bring up when we get to those, but I just, I didn't mean to hijack the meeting. I just thought it was a general comment.
Oh, no, you're not. We're willing to be hijacked,
Okay.
I guess.
I already started with stage 1 of the map.
Well, there you go. Okay,
Okay. So waterfront residential zone. So slide 5, have a table.
Yep.
So the highlighted orange, those are the uses. So the uses that have an X next to them are ones that are stated under the waterfront residential zone in the OCP. And so then next to that, I have the proposed waterfront residential zone that essentially would align those uses and the parcel area for subdivision to what it is in the OCP. So there's actually no change. It's 10 hectares now, so it remains 10 hectares. And then the green table on the side is basically just a lot of trying to explain what needs to happen to the current bylaw to get it to align like.
oh, that's
what's
green.
shown.
Oh, okay.
This
Sage.
Yeah,
stage?
this,
Okay.
this, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for the sake of the meeting, I think I want to just like if we went line by line, we probably won't get through everything. But I bolded the ones that I thought were more significant as opposed to kind of cleanup items. And this one item that I wanted to talk about specifically was based on a policy in the OCP about potentially having considering secondary suites along the lake and how that was affected by on-site sewage. So with that in mind, and also with the way that the province terms secondary suites and accessory dwelling units, and kind of proposing that we draw those two apart to differentiate between an accessory, like a second suite that's detached and then like a separate building from the house, and then one that is attached. And as we go through the zones, that could potentially be, it would allow us to potentially tweak some of the policies depending on the locations, because the province only would let us we have to have secondary suites where we
Yes.
allow for the residences, but they don't necessarily have to be detached. So making that distinction, and in some places allowing you to choose or just having attached. I think that there's some benefit in that and aligning those terms. So that's kind of what I'm presenting for discussion.
Yeah,
And I'll just throw in that the province has kind of guides for development, and one of the guides is basically if you don't have community sewer, so you're on septic and you're on your own water, they don't recommend having a detached suite unless you have at least 1 hectare. So if we separate
Yeah,
those out,
yeah.
we would be able to align with that policy.
yeah, well, that makes some sense if you're trying to protect the lake. And, you know, those are things we have to stay in line with, whether we like it or not, to a degree,
Yeah.
right? Because we're not the ones that make that call.
And we'll get that comment back from them when we send our draft
Yes,
for review to the province.
yes, we certainly will get that comment back from them. Jeff, do you have a comment here?
Yeah, so I know I looked at that and that's where then because then I think the same wording is in just the regular residential as well. And I looked at the provincial guideline and it says, it gives that guidance, but it also differentiates and say there can be justification if the attached secondary suite is on a community water system. So, I think that might be an important distinction. And because I know sort of in my neighborhood, there's been some homes built and they've got a carriage house and, and that has already, so it's an ADU. Presumably those are, I don't know if they're on their own septic. So do we make distinctions if a accessory dwelling unit is on its own septic, that it doesn't have to be 1 hectare? Because that's like 2.5 acres. That's a pretty huge lot. When we think about, trying to have supportive housing, and if we think of, in-law suites and so forth, it's a way to encourage that by having an accessory dwelling unit versus it just being a secondary suite in a house, because it gives each family a little bit of separation. So it's just a thought consideration.
Well, if you're gonna have 4 spaces for a septic system, because each septic system needs its space and then another space for the
For
future.
alternate, in case something, it fails.
Yeah. And many of those places on the lake some of those places may already have an old field on the property.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they need to have 2, so 4, they could have 5 fields on the property. And you need to, we don't have, and you need to have a driveway. You need to get the car off the road so that we can
Yeah.
plow the roads, right?
Mhm.
I think that when you put all those with the square foot of a house, some of those houses are pretty big already,
Yeah.
and then you put another house on it. I don't see how
I don't have the room.
there isn't the room on the lot.
I think we're getting ourselves into a little bit of trouble.
We are.
actually. Yeah. If you're starting to add separate septics on one lot, I don't care how big it is,
Yeah.
and you may have a well or you're pulling out of the lake or whatever the hell you're doing with your water. I listen to people nonstop that tell me that sewage is going into the lake, da, 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 da. Why aren't you doing something about it? Aren't you trying to protect the lake from sewage? I hear that nonstop. And then we think about adding another full residence. I remember when I was first elected, the one thing I wanted to do was allow secondary suites because they were never allowed it before.
Mhm.
And you will remember that as well, which we did. And I think that separate dwellings become a whole different conversation. If you're taking into consideration what each dwelling needs for everything you have to do when you're not on anything. You're not on a sewer system, you're not on a water system, you're not on, I just think this is a can of worms, quite frankly.
Okay, well, I was just throwing it out for some discussion.
Yep, and all you need is a hot plate and a microwave, and you've got a kitchen.
So right now, the bylaw allows for them to
Yeah.
be attached or detached.
But not more than one detached.
Yeah, we're just talking about one or,
Yeah,
one or, the-
Yeah,
One or
not
the
mo-
other.
not more.
that's my point.
Oh, I see. So not adding.
So this is where the non-conforming comes in, because, I know of, 4 or 5 that now will be non-conforming. So does that mean that they have to go away, or does it mean that as long as they're there and used in 6 months or whatever, that they're non-conforming?
Yeah. Anything that was legally built and it's continuously used, it would still be able to be.
Well, they would have
used.
needed a building permit.
Yeah.
And we can't exactly cancel a building permit.
Yeah.
So that's the legality of it, I think, is that if there's a building permit attached to that, each dwelling that they supposedly have, if there's more than one, and I would very much doubt if the building department were handing out building permits to people wanting to add 2 or 3. I know sleeping cabins have been built all over the place, like numerous sleeping cabins on one lot.
Yeah.
But I think we have to ask some questions on this. I don't think the clarity's there for us. Do
Okay.
you? Do you?
So basically, like right now, waterfront residential, you're allowed your one main house, and then you're allowed a secondary suite.
Yes.
And the way that, and that can be attached or detached.
Yes.
So it's the maximum of those 2 plus the sleeping quarter, or the sleeping quarter, is that what it's called? Like a
Yeah.
little cabin. So that's, in terms of how many you can have, that's what you're allowed right now.
Yes.
That's
And
what
you
they
would have
call a
had-
10-acre plot.
And you would have had a building permit.
Any lot
Okay.
that has that's the waterfront residential zone.
And you would have had a building permit for that.
Yeah.
But what Jeff is asking
Mhm.
is, with that size of lot, could you possibly have more than that? Because he's saying that there are some he knows that have more than one, which would be non-conforming.
Well, I
However-
think, what I'm saying is that there's, the current bylaw says you can have a house and you can have a secondary suite that can either be attached or detached.
That's right.
And now then the proposed change is saying that you can have a secondary suite so long as it's attached, but if you want a detached one, you have to have a 1 hectare size lot. And it's for not just waterfront residential, even though we're talking about that here. As you scroll through the slides, the same policy is now being proposed for residential, whether it's lakefront or not. That's correct, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so that's is a significant change. And then with our previous discussion of that, and I get that it's an odd distinction that certain waterfront residential wasn't included in this waterfront residential. And so maybe it should be like it's muddied everything a little bit. What zone are people in and so forth. And then, so, I think it's just having the clarity for people, because, there's a neighbor down the street from me that has a pretty new built home that would have had a building permit, that has a carriage house that now, okay, the building permit, so they would have been conforming, but then they wouldn't be non-conforming. And so if it's not occupied for 6 months, is that all of a sudden not conforming? And that seems like kind of not correct.
Yeah, so I'll make a note of that because there are some differences between a use being non-conforming and then a regulation, like not being conforming to a regulation. So I think I'm just going to make a note to get a little bit of clarity for you guys around that, because if we're allowing it as a use, but then just restricting it based on size, I think that there's a different way that that can be handled in terms of the nonconformity, but I want to look into that more.
Okay?
We're off to a good start.
Really got very far, have we?
No.
It's an important discussion.
Yes, it is.
So maybe I should frame it the question a different way. So when you guys did the OCP for the waterfront residential zone, you said secondary suites will be considered alongside the lot size and the effectiveness of on-site sewage systems to manage additional flows. So maybe my question back to you guys is, what were you trying to get out of that policy? Like, were you trying to get to the point where you thought that secondary suites weren't appropriate in certain lots? Because that's how I
think that
took
was
it.
part of it. Like if you've got like a rock you're building on,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have an area that you could have a secondary suite and a septic.
Yeah, especially if it's detached. That's where the issue comes in, I think,
Mhm.
because if it's detached and the original septic wasn't built to handle 6 bedrooms and
That's
3
fair.
bathrooms, then they're gonna put a new septic in to handle that separate building. And I think, if memory serves me right, there was a lot of conversation about that.
Yeah.
So what does that then look like? It would be so much easier if we were all on water systems and septic, but we are not.
We are not. I think that's where the site specific came in.
Yeah.
If you have the area and how many years have we done this? If you have the area and an interior health and, then yeah, you
Yeah.
can have your second.
Yeah, I think so too, Diane.
But if you can't get all those, you can't just cram it in because it said so.
Yeah. 100%, which is why you get the development permit for the septic system that says when you go for the building permit, right? Like it makes, I think being that more site specific and with those proper regulatory approvals, it's, of course you can't jam everything in on a super small lot, but some people have an acre lot and they have a good robust septic system and they have a home and they have an accessory dwelling in it and it's all connected and working and they're on a community water system. Now to bump them up to have another acre and a half, that's a significant change. And I don't, to me, that's not, I can't remember exactly, but I didn't think that's where our discussions were going as part of the OCP review. It was more site specific.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I put in the 1 hectare for a discussion point because it's essentially, we have to consider the provincial guidelines when we're going through this document. And that's basically the provincial guideline is for the 1 hectare for the detached suites.
With the proviso that it
yeah.
can be smaller if you're on a community water system.
Yeah, this is if you don't have either water or sewer.
Yeah.
And is sewer septic or is sewer a community sewer system?
Community sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so septic.
Which is no such
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
which is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm hearing is that you guys are okay with potentially the change in separating the terms between detached and attached, but not with the 1 hectare restriction on that. At least at this point, there isn't really consensus about what rules to apply to those 2 different types, but are okay with using the terms accessory dwelling unit and secondary suite, and then maybe for later discussion, we can see if there's any additional rules that would come.
I think we need to check that.
Okay,
Yeah, we can
Sounds good.
revisit that once you bring back some more information.
okay.
You okay with that, Jeff?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So. Shall we move on to
Yeah.
another
6.
6? Yes, so this is just another, topic for discussion, before I made any sort of changes or, thought about this, seasonal resort residential zone. So it's also the property is, under the umbrella of the waterfront residential, but the use that's listed in the zone is residential resort, but that's not a use that's listed in the OCP. So I just kind of wanted to get your general thoughts about these types of seasonal resorts, and then I'd be able to come back with something at a later point. But I didn't have enough direction from the OCP to even really get started on it. That was a question that I was going to ask this, because that was the term that was used in the OCP. I'm assuming that it's something along the lines of
Christina RV Park or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And whatever that other one is down there. Yeah, I think, yeah, no, well, Clara's out,
Clara's got buildings.
but it's
No,
not,
but they're still seasonal.
They're seasonal.
but they can be, they could, there's nothing stopping them from being year round.
No, in their, well, I know in the 1, their bylaws only allow, actually 2 of them. Because I know people in 2 of them that they only allow occupancy from April to October or something like that.
Well, that's the case on Christina RV or whatever the hell that's called.
Well, there's the Christina Sands, and there's
Yeah.
one
Like second
sort
resort.
of
Yeah,
right between the Totem and the Sutherland Creek, whatever one that was, because I know people in each of them, and they've talked about that.
they would all be, would they not?
this one just applies for Christina Lake Alpine Resort, which I think has like
Yeah.
I think it's the old internment camp, if that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it
it
has
is.
like little
Japanese internment camp.
Yeah, so it has
Yeah.
like,
Clara. Yeah. In fact, they're redoing the one building there, and I gave them a grant and aid to do a bunch of signage on Japanese internment there.
But all of these have permanents now.
I didn't hear what you said, Diane. All of
All
them
of the
have what?
campgrounds have what I think we're classifying as residential resorts, because they've all siphoned off certain areas that you can just stay. You can bring in your little camper and stay forever. I'm not, the camper can stay forever.
The camper could, but
Yeah.
not the people in it.
So isn't that kind of like residential, what we're talking about here?
Well, it kind of sounds like it to me, residential resort. To me, Willow Beach kind of fits under there and
Willow Beach, Lakeside.
Lakeside, yeah,
Shuley's have,
yeah.
some permanents that are, I mean, I know they're just trailers, but they're very permanent trailers.
Mhm.
I've seen people that have properties that have less permanent trailers.
Yeah, but the deal supposedly is for those that there are a limited amount of time that they can have people in them. And I think there was a question on that at one point as which 6 months of the year or whatever the hell that is, are we referring to when we talk about bylaw? Because it's not clear. So are we saying somebody can be in their RV from December till whatever? Or are we saying May till whatever? Or what are we saying? Because there's no clarity there.
Mm.
And bylaw
But
has ran
Yeah,
into
I
a
think-
problem with that.
I think all the ones that we've just listed off though are covered under waterfront commercial. So I just wonder if we don't get ahead of ourselves too much and go back to the
Yes.
Alpine one.
Yeah, you're right. So it's just the three lots that are all part of the Christina Lake Alpine Resort that are under this one seasonal resort residential zone. And I think that's because I think there's more permanence to the buildings that are there, and then they can be used year round, whereas the other ones that we're talking about, they're more campgrounds, RVs. and-
Yeah,
and
yeah,
seasonal.
no, I get that.
Yeah. So,
What do we do?
yeah, well, I mean, this is one where, obviously it's close to the lake. It's a zone that has really high density.
Yeah, it is. It is, you're right.
Yeah, and then the OCP doesn't really speak to residential resorts. And only under that umbrella of waterfront residential, it's talking about single family use and larger lots. So I didn't really know how. Is this one that becomes non-conforming, or is this one that becomes recognized as this resort? This was just a discussion to try to get some of your thoughts on.
Can it
On
be
what that
added
is.
into what, but commercial?
Yeah, like do they fit better? Are they better to be moved into the seasonal resort, like commercial seasonal resort in that zoning? Because they're a permanent structure as opposed to the people that have the trailers.
But
But
nobody lives there. I guess they
Yeah.
can, but nobody really
And
does.
and the truth is those trailers are pretty much permanent too. I mean, they're not, they can be
That's
moved, but
important.
Mhm.
I don't know, it's,
What if we did put them into the waterfront commercial as a different section?
Makes sense to me, but
Okay, that's something we can look into. It would,
Does that make sense?
I think with any of the ones that we mentioned, in terms of these kind of larger, seasonal resorts, I'm gonna need to have conversations with those property owners as a kind of a group to see kind of what their uses are. And I would kind of probably want to check out some of those sites and see what's on the ground, to see where they fit. In.
well, you could be faced with a very large task.
Mhm.
Because I know, when we've dealt with the first one along the creek,
Sounds,
the Sands, they like to get their whole membership's opinion. And it took us years at one point to get to some kind of an understanding on one piece of property there. So I see this as a really difficult road.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Yeah,
So.
right now
um,
it's waterfront residential. And I just, based on the policies that are in there, it would kind of make everything that's there non-conforming.
So would they be better off if they were classified as commercial waterfront?
Possibly.
That might be the,
That might be the carrot, but I don't know.
It would require an amendment to the OCP.
Yeah,
But this is only talking about changing for this Christina Lake Alpine, not for the other
Yes.
ones, right?
That's the only one that's in this zone, yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so, I might have missed something. Calling it a seasonal resort residential, just keeping it that zone. Why don't we want to do that?
So it's designated as waterfront residential in the OCP,
Oh,
and waterfront residential basically says single
oh, yeah,
family.
you got way
please.
more uses.
And-
Yeah, no.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. And then the seasonal resort residential. Would that be a new one or is it something different? Like the gray where you've got R4 and,
Yeah, residential resort is what's in the zoning right now, but it's not in the OCP designation.
oh. So,
So it's allowing for what's there currently but in terms of an alignment with the OCP, it's not aligned.
so is it easier just to do a quick amendment to the OCP? Because it's not like it's just adding a new designation, right? Like, is that to just bring them into compliance? I was trying to think of the easiest way that doesn't cause you a bunch of work on your staff and isn't disruptive to the community. But, what's the end game here that we want? That they have basically seasonal occupancy, that they can't do everything that waterfront residential can do, but you retain the nature and the type of use that they've got.
Was that kind of the intention,
I don't know.
or does
Because I
everybody?
don't remember.
that's the trouble. It's been so long, right?
Yeah,
Some of these conversations were 4 years ago,
yeah.
5, sorry. So it is hard to remember what that conversation was.
Okay, so would it be safe to say that there's a consensus that if the occupancy was kept to a seasonal occupancy like the other places, that the amount of units that they had and kind of keeping the status quo would be a direction that we would be okay with?
Yeah, Alpine, Clara is difficult anyway, because each plate is on their little postage stamp. It's
Yeah.
very small.
It's kind of
And
like
it's-
timeshare-ish kind of thing. It's,
Yeah.
but I think it's good to have a distinction so that, they can have a little accessory building and their little cabin, and that's all that they can have. Yeah, and seasonal, because I don't think they're set up for year-round use.
it sounds exactly the same as.
It does,
except
yeah.
it's a stick as opposed to a mobile home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Maybe the next time we should redo the bylaw and then write the OCP to match the bylaw.
I can see the logic in that. Jeff.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
If it's a general, we kind of want to keep the status quo, then I can
Yeah.
work with that.
Strong intention that we want to simplify things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
collapsed a lot of different kinds of.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's ever an intention to take something and say, nope, got to get rid of all of that. We're just trying to make it what we have conform in some way and just have some regulations moving forward.
Have some similarities.
Yeah.
And some similarities in those,
Yeah.
if it's at all possible. Right?
I mean, we're talking 3 properties.
Mhm.
What would be most benefit? Because I think if they're residential zone, they've got problems. They got too many places on a residential lot.
Mhm.
We need to find a happier place for that. I'm back to seasonal resort, commercial building.
okay, you totally confused me.
Well, Jeff, it's mutual some days. I love you.
Yeah, true, but.
Uh, This, like, we're not trying to take, for instance, Alpine and somehow destroy Alpine because they're not fitting into the residential rules. Because they're not right now. If they're called residential, they have far too many homes
Yeah,
on a piece of property to be a residential. So isn't the goal to find them a place that they fit more into the zoning regulations that we have in existence?
yeah.
And
I
that's
thought
why I'm
that's
going
what-
back to seasonal resort. Commercial.
Because they are seasonal,
Yeah.
they are resort, and you may stay there, but it's not your residence. Nobody's claiming residency based on their occupancy for 6 months of the year.
No.
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess if we move them into commercial though, then aren't they allowed to have a little store and that kind of stuff? Which isn't the worst thing in the world, and maybe they do, but I don't know.
That would be a problem.
I don't know if it would be.
I think that's an application that you have a look at when it comes. Because there might not be anything the matter with that. In fact, I believe there used to be a store at Alpine, if memory serves me right.
Yeah,
And there was a post office.
yep.
Okay. So
Find a place to make them happy.
find a place to make them happy. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah, we can fit it into a different zone.
Because right now, they're nowhere.
It's gonna
Well,
be,
yeah,
yeah.
well,
Right
you're right.
now, they're massively non-conforming nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, they're allowed 66 units per parcel under the zoning bylaw right now.
Oh, okay.
So what they have there, it's not like they've gone to town and built, not according to the bylaw. The bylaw just allows for a lot more on those parcels than I would say probably anywhere else at the lake.
I just think they're the same as the campgrounds.
Yeah, and the campgrounds probably have that many too.
So it sounds like it's probably something that will need to go back to the OCP, take it out of the waterfront residential. And then find a zone, possibly fitting into one of the commercial resort zones and see if that fits.
Makes sense to me.
Is that,
Jeff?
Yes,
and anything that we're talking about here, obviously, this is the first go.
Well, this is just a conversation.
It's just the conversation, so it's
And
like,
we get stuck a lot.
yeah.
We do.
Yeah, these aren't gonna be, there's gonna be more opportunity for more feedback, and then we're going out,
Yeah.
to the public about it. So there's a lot more conversations to be had, but just trying to get a sense of where to put it.
Okay.
So I started with some difficult ones.
You did, didn't you?
We pressing on to residential?
Carry on, yeah.
All right, residential.
To be clear, I have to be gone by 8.
Yeah, well, oh God, here we go. This gets really noisy.
I've used up almost all of the questions I'm allowed, so it should go faster. Are you guys still there? Because I don't hear anybody talking.
No, we're here, but the fire thing went off, Jeff.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Hang on a few minutes.
yeah, no problem.
Good time to have a snack if you.
Mm.
Well, apparently I have been, and I usually never eat after
I would
5.
like you to know that you have the best snacks.
I'd like you to also know you're just derailed. Grace doesn't eat a bunch of sweets.
Noted.
Well, then have a cheese.
Yeah, she's.
I've had a package of those tonight with my kombucha, so I can't have another one because I also am trying not to eat a bunch of carbs.
It's a salt bomb.
Well, that's the printer.
Yeah,
Okay.
moving forward.
So I think we're safe. from-
Well, we'll try, but they'll be coming into the door and taking fire trucks out and there'll be people.
Okay.
So be prepared.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, carry on.
Okay, residential. So this one. Basically, what I'm trying to do is we have one residential zone, R1A, that covered one property, which was the property south of Moody Creek Estates, which in the OCP went to rural because it's in the alluvial fan hazard.
Yeah, yeah.
So removing that just completely from the bylaw because we don't need it anymore. So one zone gone. And then there's an R5 zone, which is the property for Moody Creek Estates itself. And there was not a lot of difference between the R1 and that zone, especially because all of the properties have been subdivided. So the main difference was the lot size. Like they were allowed a smaller lot size because they have their own sewer system serving the strata.
Yeah.
So proposing just to take that out and merging it with the R1 so that we have less zones overall. And then one of the policies that would carry forward from that would be, sorry, that's not from carrying forward. That's from the OCP, adding a minimum of 10 hectares for parcels that aren't within the water service area. So if we were to merge those together, we're taking properties that aren't in the water service area. So we'd just be adding that policy in to align with OCP. But pretty much everything else stays the same.
Okay. What say you people? Jeff?
Two thumbs up.
Okay. Yep. I agree. Yep. Wow.
We got through a page.
I'm true to my word.
Okay, next one.
Can I just interrupt? Jeff, you
Yes?
said something about running out of time, but there was a voice here, so I didn't really hear what you said.
No, I ran out all my allowed questions are pretty much done, is what I
Oh,
got.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
Something
you
like
said
that.
something, but the voice.
Yeah,
They were drowned out.
I think I said something like that in an attempt to be quasi funny and it always
Okay,
fails.
and just so everybody knows too, we usually go to 8 o'clock.
Okay.
But in deference to Ellie and her medication,
I'm out at 8, period, dot end.
No, that's, but we usually don't go past 8 anyway.
There. We'll try to push on. And if we don't get to everything, then we don't get to everything.
There's another day.
There's another
There's
day.
another day awaiting.
So,
Well, I mean, there's so much more conversations for all of these. By the time we even hide, no worries. By the time we even get this out to public too, there's going to be a whole bunch more conversations. So, you know, it is what it is,
mhm.
right?
So this is another discussion topic. So we have one property and one zone, which is the R6, that allows for manufactured home parks. Not something that's mentioned in the OCP. So I was just hoping to get your thoughts around that topic before I made any changes to that zone.
Considering my parents used to own that piece of property.
What used to be Slazers, right?
Mhm.
Are they even, is anybody up there now?
Yeah, they moved.
Well, there's Slazers, yeah. But is anybody in the manufactured home?
I have no clue. They improved that whole park, from what I understand. Because there was an application to the APC and it was gonna look pretty nice. I don't know what it looks like now.
Walk up there one day.
Yeah, we should.
so they don't have their own water system. Otherwise, they'd be included.
They'd be on Southern.
Maybe on Sutherland Creek.
They should be on Southern Creek.
Mhm.
They're certainly within the area, they should be.
Haven't been there, but you know, like
Yeah. Yeah. It's
pretty lateral to the,
It's a bench.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You know, that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I don't know if they're on Sutherland Creek or not.
Yeah, I don't
Because they're up
either.
above. They did a bunch of logging and stuff, right? Below and above the rail
Yeah,
trail.
And there was an old mine up there as well.
No, I didn't know that. But,
Yeah.
So what is the question for us?
So my question was, so this is a manufactured home park and I'm wondering what their water source was,
Yeah,
because how is that different from,
like Moody Creek.
Reedy Creek, yeah.
which is also a manufactured home park?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not really.
Are they not all
They're
manufactured
not
homes?
manufactured homes. Big difference between.
Oh, yeah, I know
manufactured
there are.
homes and, no. They're
So they're not double.
They are, like ours is,
Modular.
modular homes. There's a whole big difference between a
Oh,
manufactured and a modular home. Big difference.
The last
And
time,
big difference when it comes to insurance as well.
the last time I was up there, they're just literally trailers that.
Yeah, they're manufactured homes up there, which are trailers, what we used to call.
That somebody just manually built in
Yeah.
to a home. So I don't know what they've done with that since.
But the water question, I think, is of
Yeah.
interest.
Okay. I can look into that and then we can circle back around.
Sutherland Creek system would know.
Yeah, they would.
Well, I have the mapping, just not at my fingertips.
Yeah, okay, let's find that out.
Okay. And I'll bring that back later.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Rural residential?
Rescue 361 responding.
Got that part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're counting.
Yeah, well, he's a 911 operator.
He needs to get it.
Yeah, get it clearer if you don't mind.
Dude, talk slower.
Right?
Okay, rural residential.
I don't know what the address was, so.
On this.
Yeah, well, I pretty much know that. Okay. Can we go on to one more?
sure.
Okay, rural residential then? Is that where we're going?
Sure.
You're easygoing.
So for rural residential, essentially, we have some properties that are in the ALR that are under this designation, but the OCP doesn't talk about agriculture or like farm uses under this designation. So it would be allowing those farm uses just for the properties that are in the ALR. And then single family dwellings otherwise. And then in changing the terminology, right now we use the term agriculture, and so I'd be looking to change it. And actually in this bylaw it just lists field crops, horticulture and silviculture together as permitted uses, so we'd be switching that to farm uses within the ALR. And that terminology of farm use is something that I believe is going to be easier to enforce and easier to align with provincial ALR regulations.
Okay. Whew. Hey, people. Change from field.
I'm confused as to what you're saying. I'm sorry.
I think we're all tired.
Yeah, we might have hit a wall.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
all tired.
Can I suggest
Yes, please.
something?
Please.
So I have some maps that it might just be fun to look at the map and get some initial
I think-
feedback
I
on
think
that
you're
as
right.
a refresher. Because I know that going through lots and lots of bylaw, I think we've already had some really good discussion, and we're not gonna get
I
through
think
all
that's
of
a
these.
really good idea, Joanne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff, I did email you a PDF copy of the maps that we're
Yeah.
gonna look at.
I have it. So.
When are you back, Jeff?
Friday.
Oh.
And, do we want to continue meeting here? Because we could end up always with that kind of interruption. We can also be interfering with their educational component here when some people start moving into those things out there, they're going to be teaching.
What is that? What are we doing?
Well, there's some things out there for people to, well, they're going to be teaching here. Christina Lake will be teaching certain fire things.
Oh, okay.
And in which case, we may be in the middle of
Of a lesson.
whatever, yes. So I might suggest we think about taking our other meetings to the Welcome Center.
Sounds
As
good.
long as we make sure that we get,
We all get a mail.
as
Yes.
long as we make sure we get on
they
the
don't
calendar
know.
for that room
Oh,
at the Welcome Center. Yeah?
Sounds
do
good.
you not have the tools to bribe Tracy?
Hmm? That's not,
I said, do you not have the tools to bribe Tracy?
well, it's not Tracy, it's if somebody rented it,
First
then
come,
she
first
can't,
served.
she can't exactly, or,
Question still stands, Bryce.
yeah, well, I can,
I know.
yeah,
I'm joking.
So the next meeting is in April, so let me see what I can do with that. You guys all okay with that?
Yeah, what is the date of
Yeah.
that? Oh, well, we'll get it.
I have one of those.
Yeah, okay. We'll get it later.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Okay. What? So what we are
So is this
looking
a
at,
copy that we can take?
yeah, you can take the copies. I made enough
that was nice of you.
it's a very draft. I will emphasize that. Very draft.
No,
But
but that's good.
But basically what we did, or what I did was I took the OCP map, and went through each of the properties, and areas, and, you know, if it was, say, designated as waterfront residential, that's then, you know, waterfront residential 2, or the other zone that went under waterfront residential. Same thing with like the natural resource area and so on. So there weren't a ton of mapping changes from the OCP to what was the existing zoning bylaw. So most of the changes on the map are going to be the shifts in the zones, like what I was describing about getting rid of some of those residential zones. So I've also pared down some of the commercial zones, but then I've also increased the number of park zones, and added the rural resource, which is like the natural resource zone, because there was a differentiation in the OCP between the privately owned and the crown land, and they
Oh, yeah.
designated differently. So then there's a new zone that recognizes that, and the uses that were listed. So those are the differences in the Browns, is the rural residential. And I think it would be the one that I probably have the most questions about in terms of changes would be about the parks, and then about the commercial along the highway.
Oh,
I'm thinking just the late hour might be good to go through the park, because there's 4 different.
yeah, I
kind
see
of
that.
zones.
It's interesting.
And the reason for doing that is basically we have 2 park zones right now. One of them has a whole list of uses, like you can have rodeo grounds, and you know, like, yeah, like just. Okay, so it's like, yeah, so there's a whole list of stuff that I don't, don't think that really is what we would want in, say, Gladstone. But that's, so I found them to be a
I hear
little
you.
bit not
I hear you.
aligning with the uses that were around, and then
Those
also.
horses are good swimmers.
There you go. And then I also found that there was some key parks where they're more like it's not something that you'd put, tennis courts or a golf course on. But I didn't really have any options in the existing zoning bylaw to limit that. So it kind of goes general parks, which are the ones that kind of align with the provincial parks, because it allows for like campgrounds and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the community parks are the ones that have like your tennis courts or your pickleball and your community centers and that kind of thing. And then the neighborhood parks are like the little play parks that are going to be scattered throughout.
That would take into consideration people doing a subdivision and dedicating a piece for a little park.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that would come under that. Yeah.
Is this a part 2?
That's a park too. Yeah.
What is that? Across from English Point.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't think there's anything there, but I think it's,
It is just.
I think it was, I think there's a society that, that wanted it dedicated as a park. Yeah.
I would love to know who they are and what it is.
Okay.
I'm gonna go play in your park.
And then the really dark green are the areas that basically would allow the least amount of like permanent structures because they're meant to be more natural. So like the potholes and, riparian areas.
Yeah.
And things like that. So if you just want to kind of glance around the colors and give me some comments about if that kind of.
It's really easier to have that conversation looking at this size of map.
Okay.
I'm
I
actually
think it is.
impressed that
It
you
is,
found
yeah.
this many colors.
It's always a challenge.
Wow.
With maps.
Jeez.
So it's
And
what?
yeah. You can comment.
Well, just trying to figure out who did, not you, but, so we've got beige and then two little brown guys in the middle. How did that sort of thing happen?
Yeah, so the difference in the browns are the
Rural
difference
resource
rural
one
resource 1 and 2,
and two.
and it's based on ownership, whether it's Crown or whether it's private.
So
Ah.
what is Crown?
Crown is going to be the
I'm sorry, two? Oh, okay, so Crown, just my map. I know.
yeah, you can
I'm right on footnotes,
here.
because it's pretty.
What?
Um,
Take this one.
rural resource two.
Background.
And if you look at the OCP map, which I also brought just for context, you can see that same pattern. What we tried to do was keep the format exactly the same so they can be easily compared.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And so you obviously played with the colors a little bit because you have more colors in the zoning bylaws, and then you have to change your approach a little bit because when you have colors next to each other, they look different.
Yeah, for sure.
What they're next to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They certainly do.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're comparing, but you can kind of see the same general patterns with the blocking,
Well,
for example.
yeah.
So it's basically just translating that overarching, rural resource 1 and 2 into the zoning bylaw.
so this adds like more. As we've got.
The little one on the tip of the lake.
Where's the board and just did a color drawing?
It was the crayons that someone had out back there, right? Yeah, it's that little square at the end there,
Yeah, which is
general parks.
community parks too.
No,
Yeah,
general parks.
no, because the big area is general, the little square at the
Oh, yeah,
end.
it's parks
Community
too,
park.
yeah. So that would be the Parks Board that did that little designated that, did they?
No, that's up for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did it I think I did it that way because the general parks allowed for campgrounds, and I wasn't sure about the campground next to the lake. So, but if
Why
you wanted it to be
why
general-
would this
Mhm,
have campgrounds?
because it's in the OCP. So I thought you wanted it.
Yes, I hear you, but it's really a different message when you look at it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Which one are you talking about?
The general parks one.
Okay,
seriously don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Right?
Well, the general parks one is like Gladstone Park.
Yes, but it
And-
includes camping or more,
General Parks and Rec, one, include camping?
what did you say? Now, do you want to repeat what you just said to me, Joanne?
Yeah, the general parks one would include, campgrounds. And that's based on the OCP listing camping and recreational vehicle accommodation under that Parks and Rec zone. But how we
Does that,
slice that out, it's up for discussion.
does that make sense for Gladstone Park?
Like, we don't,
Although Texas Creek or whatever that campsite is a campsite.
Mhm.
Well, I guess it makes sense. It just. That's what I say, when you look at the map,
Mhm,
it tweaks differently in your head.
mhm.
But do we want to open the door for a Texas Creek to be established anywhere in the provincial park?
Yeah, I don't know. And shouldn't BC Parks have some kind of input into that?
I was gonna say, do we have any input into it?
I don't know.
BC Park?
That's what I'm wondering too, Joanne.
Well, wouldn't it be, if we allow camping, but it doesn't mean that, you have to allow it anywhere in that park?
Yes, definitely up for debate as to how we want to direct the uses. I think there's a lot of opportunity for discussion within the park zones as to what we want where.
So does BC Parks, what they want to do, supersede anything that we may put in our OCP and bylaw? Zoning.
Does ALR?
Because-
It's everything, does provincial park? go-
As far as I've always known,
I,
government supersedes anything that we might do.
And remember the big discussion when they wanted to take away part of the park
Yep.
at the lower end and turn it into a campground?
Yep.
And,
Provincial, again,
again, we're talking about Gladstone.
no.
No, that's not Gladstone. South End Park is not Gladstone.
Right, but
Yeah, I hear you.
again, it's BC Parks.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take that question just to confirm, because generally, yes.
Yeah.
Probably
they supersede.
supersede, but I just want to confirm that specifically for the parks that is one that does supersede.
Yeah, and I think it does, but anyway, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Let's find that out and see. Because literally, we could sit here and have this big conversation on what we didn't want to see in Gladstone, and they could say, no, our plans are at the end of the lake, we're gonna do blah, 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 and which I think they are, or something, they're gonna do something at some point. And then all this discussion that we're having because we care about Christina Lake is moot,
Okay,
right?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, yeah. Jeff?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
okay.
all right.
Are we fried enough?
Yeah.
Is this where Texas Point Campground is, somewhere down in here? Must be there.
Oh. Here,
So it's simply, gotta be
No, it's further up.
there. English Point,
The Texas Creek is on this side of the lake. Am I upside down,
yeah,
looking up?
Yeah.
and down?
Think so.
So I think,
Here's
Texas
Texas
Street
Point right
Transit.
here. Here's Texas Point right here.
and the campground is just like,
So the campground is at
Direction,
Texas
yeah.
Point.
which is there in mind, but
There.
reversed. Yeah,
Mhm.
That'd be here.
Well,
Because
this is
there's
all,
houses here,
yeah, but this is all,
there's
park.
houses right up until,
right, and then the campground.
so the campground's
So
in
here's
here, but
the
this
end of
is
the road.
also owned by them.
Okay.
There's a big piece there that, and this access is owned by BC Parks as well.
this one.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
That access to lake. And that's what we wanted them to develop at one point.
Right.
Mhm.
I think we're fried.
Yep, I think we're probably
Are
done
you
for
about
now.
to say we're fried?
I think we're probably done. Came to a natural end of our
Of
discussion.
confusion.
Well, hopefully it was.
Thank you, thank you, Joanne.
I think, it might not feel like it at the moment, but I got a lot of good information
Did
from
you?
you guys. Yes.
Okay, so
I
Jeff,
had a
we're
vision
going
of you
home.
and going, I'm never
Okay,
gonna-
well, safe travels home and we'll see you folks
See you as
soon.
well.
And Kathy,